continuing down, we're going to get this down to 1500. And I was about on runway heading. You guys want to go into echelon right now? You're good. Three echelon right. Scooch low, going to bring us back up to 2100. That should be about 1500 feet. And no joy on 1 and 5.
Little behind you.
Try and get on bearing line again.
Lined up with the runway.
Yeah, just try and line up with me.
Be right in trail with you?
I want you to be in an echelon formation on my 45 degree. 45 degree bearing off my right wing.
Saddle.
Alrighty, here we go.
Lost you in the turn.
Warning, 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 warning.
I lost formation, so didn't work out so good.
Yeah, I was struggling to stay behind you. All good.
Wheels down.
Four is down and braking.
Damn, so bad living on the edge here.
Leads down and braking.
Just let me know if I'm clear to the right so I can exit the runway.
You're clear to the right.
Why was I living on the edge?
You should see all the missiles that got shot at you.
Oh,
I'm
man.
amazed you made it back.
Hey, I saw him. I dodged him.
I stayed up high. I didn't have a single one. Count had an SA-7 launched at him at the end. Probably when he flew in with that CCIP run.
Force flies open.
How many kills did I get?
None. Yeah,
Oh,
you got
they
eight.
ain't no
You
way.
got eight. You got 8. Is everybody on the ground, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah, they all touched down just now.
5, let me know when you're clear to exit.
I'm being rude on the comms here, I think.
5's off, taxi right.
Force air brake's still out.
And 1, I'll give you the illustrious first spot, and I'll take my spot next to you. I was going to turn all the way around. Okay.
Oh,
I look like a jackass.
I should have taken the CBU 87 instead.
I've been playing this game since Falcon 3.
Well, they're no good on the
early 90s.
T-62s, I don't think.
They're mostly just combat focused rather than all the extra comms and all that stuff.
I love
The
all
only
of
one
it.
I missed with was the first one I dropped. I was hitting moving convoy there, and they
I'm gonna go
stopped,
ahead and back out
and my
and
bomb
check out
landed
the
right in
files
between
you compiled.
two
Yeah.
sets of trucks. All my targets were moving. I'm getting pretty good at CCRP in these things with cluster bombs.
How many did I get?
Count, you got 18 kills, man.
I was gonna say I knew it was up there.
You damaged a lot of T-62s with your cluster bombs.
On the first group of tanks that first set of cluster bombs, I dropped a pair of 87s because I didn't think that I wanted the extra firepower to hopefully take them out.
Yeah, and you were right about the last bomb. You hit him, but you only damaged him.
Why does
I
my
think
BMS keep...
M48A5. I hope that's not a friendly. It sure sounds like friendly to me.
It does sound like a friendly.
But you didn't blow it up.
Yeah, M48A5 is a friendly. Hopefully I don't get court-martialed.
Well, that would just suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they probably won't take a lot of points for something. You didn't get a kill on it.
And I didn't hear anybody say over comms, "You're in big trouble, mister," which you usually do.
Yeah, mister.
Well, I had fun, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that was excellent.
Yeah, Quacks, I'm planning on showing up to your flight there, your open flight coming up. So, just so you've flown with me a couple times in the same flight now, and
I
I'm
believe
a little
so.
little hard of hearing, so, and I get tunnel vision when the SA goes to shit, so.
Hey, dude, we all do. It's not. It's something. It takes a while to practice and get down. I still suck at it. I get sucked
Okay.
into my instruments a lot still. I'm getting better now that I've been practicing a lot, but it still takes a bit to get your head out of the instruments and back out of the cockpit.
Yeah, if it's cool, I'd like to fly with you if you're leading an element or a flight.
I probably will. I don't know which day you're. It's the 17th. I think I'll be flying.
Yeah, 17th. All right, man, I'll look you up if you're there.
Sounds like
Cool.
a plan. Hey,
All right.
as far as your guys' debrief goes, the one thing I did like from when I was listening to who was leading our flight, I think it was
Count.
Sudoku. Yeah, man. I liked how the fact that you called the racetrack in there. It kind of devolved a little bit. We kind of got all over the place, but I like the fact that you were thinking in there and like attacking that initial column down there, because you guys decimated that thing. It looked good.
Was that the one before we got to the main targets?
I'm not sure. It was the one over Steer 4.
Okay. Yeah, we practiced the racetrack a week or two ago, and it worked really well. It worked a lot better, but we had lesser amount of people, I think, so it was not as convoluted.
Well, it just takes a bit of coordination. There's a whole bunch of different tactics you can use for attacking different targets. I'm slowly learning these things since I'm doing it in real life, as well as taking it and putting in the F-16 for my little hobby.
No, you said real life. What do you mean real life?
I fly Apaches, or I will be starting on Wednesday.
Awesome.
Killer, man. Where at?
Rucker, your dude Tex is an IP down here that I'm supposed to look up and talk and meet and be like, hey, I know lawn dart. I haven't gotten to the class yet, but I think I may have seen him. I'm not sure.
All right, man. Well, if you're ever up around Whiteman, call me up before you get there, and I'll buy you a beer.
Where is that?
Missouri?
I will try to remember.
You'll know when you see the B-2 on the runway.
That's true.
Yeah, and I'm just outside of Offutt.
Hell, for that matter, if you ever go out to Junction City, where what's that big ass base out there?
The only other thing I can say about the flight that I was in is just try and work on your speeds, because the speeds were all over the place. I couldn't
Oh,
figure
yeah.
out where the fuck anywhere. Like I was trying to catch up to 3, and he realized he was like 430 knots, but he had like 1,000 pounds of fuel. So I'm like, well, I'm not gonna be able to do anything formation off him. So I just kind of peeled off and linked up with one.
Yeah.
So Quacks, I'm gonna tell you something. You're in your prime, buddy. I am beyond rusty. It's been months. So as a matter of fact, when the lead was trying to coordinate all of us, I went completely deaf. I didn't hear anybody.
That sucks.
Yeah, SoBad he's getting reacquainted, it sounds like, but I think a lot of it too is we're not used to flying with so many different loadouts. Everybody had a different loadout this time.
That was interesting. That was an interesting mix. I mean, we definitely killed a lot of stuff, but it was like, me personally, I don't have a problem with multiple loadouts, but you want to like definitely have a role for each person and the reason why they have those loadouts.
Well, when I flew behind you the other night, you had us kick out at a certain point, and that helped a lot with staying in formation. We were too close, I think.
Yeah, me personally, I like the wedge formation, and because like all the wingman has to do is just follow around his element lead, and just kind of stay close enough to kind of be able to control that. And then when you attack, it's just like, all right, here's what we're gonna do, and you just like spit out a little attack pattern. You roll in on your attacks, and then you link back up, and you can kind of just work as a 2-man team, and you can support each other as an element. And then if you stay within about 20 miles, you can support the whole flight. Each element can support each other as well. It's just something I've seen experienced over time, and that's the way I like to work my flights, because it's easier for me to try and deal with.
Sounds like a really good idea. I do mostly air-to-air, and so I'm just beginning to try to get more into the air-to-ground side of things.
Yeah, it makes air-to-air easy too, because really it just breaks it. Instead of like the flight lead only has to really worry about like an element, and the element can deal with his wingman, because you really shouldn't be working with having to like coordinate 4 different aircraft. It makes it difficult for your brain to wrap around. It's difficult for my brain to wrap around if I break it down into smaller chunks and let the element lead just kind of like, hey, do you guy, you run your element how you want to, but I'm in control of your element. Like I was telling your element to go do something, and then you run it. You do what you need to do to accomplish that little thing. And it just makes it easier because you're breaking it down to smaller chunks. Instead of 4, you're just doing 2.
Yeah, I get confused sorting myself out of a 4 ship.
Yeah, and then it's just if you just practice formation flight for a little while and kind of get down the okay, cool, I know where I'm supposed to be at. You're just like, okay, I'm in a wedge formation. You just kind of hang out, fighting wing. It's super easy. Just like stay in a 30 to 60 degree cone at within about a mile of your lead, and you're good. You're in position. And then you can there's a bunch of different attack patterns that you can use to attack things on the ground. So you're just like, all the lead has to do is kind of just line up on what he wants to kill and make sure his wingman knows what he wants him to kill, and then you just roll in, call the attack, and then you attack and you go out. And
so
you can support each other.
I know you had a good time trying to follow me when we left the runway, because I grossly overshot the lead, and so I just flew straight up to bleed off some speed, and I noticed you were trying to stay with me, and I'm thinking, oh no, don't do that.
I was fine. Like the first thing was like that you were really, really slow on takeoff. And I think it's because you had a way heavier loadout than I did. So I had to slow down that, and then you went into burner. I'm like, oh shit.
That's because I realized I was going too slow. I should have stayed in burner longer than I did, because I thought that I was going to be able to cut the leg and catch up to him that way, but I was wrong.
Well, you caught up to him, and then you had way too much speed. Like
exactly.
I think I cut my throttle a little while earlier, and then I just cut off to the side, so I made sure I kept you in sight. And then when you kind of fell back, I was like, oh shit, where'd he go?
Oh yeah, I was just pulled up to 1, and I looked over and saw him pull up, and then he went back down. I started watching him, and I got all wonky and shit.
Yeah, it's just you gotta focus on your spot, like just like practicing formation flight. Even though it's a really boring flight night type thing, it pays dividends if you focus on that close formation for a little while, because then it's just like, oh, this is easy.
That's why during the last that thing, I was just following the lead around, just practicing my formation because he was jerking all over the place. So it gave me a chance to get some practice in.
I was not flying. I was not flying well for formation following.
I know, but that was good practice for me. I mean, I knew what you were trying. You were trying to get that bomb off, and that was fine. But you were all over the place, and I'm thinking, yes, 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 I need this practice.
I have a really hard time maintaining formation in turn.
So there's a couple things that make doing the turns. Depending on if you're doing a really long turn, one, you can trim it out, and then then it's practically just like flying straight and level. If you're doing like a long orbit type thing, if you're following a tanker track, you can like do a couple of taps nose up. I like use like anywhere from 2 to 5, depending on how steep your turn is, and you'll probably keep your nose up and let the jet kind of work itself out, and then it's almost just like flying in the straight level because you're making the same movements. The other thing is just like when you're flying in close formation, you want to work on 3 things. Obviously, it's like you got bearing line. Co-altitude, bearing line, and whether you're acute or you're sucked, there's another word for it that I can't remember right now.
Choose.
Acute and sucked, but there's a different term. You want to basically the most important part for me as a lead is I just want you to be on my bearing line, that 45 degree off my wing, because then I don't have to look for you behind my jet and like I'm not searching. I'm just like, look off my wing. There you are, and I'm back on what I was doing, making sure you're still there. That's like the most important part of any formation, is to stay in that bearing line point, that 45 degree, where I really, really want to see you.
So it
And then-
doesn't matter if you're 10 feet or 100 feet, just stay on that 45.
Yeah, like that's the most important part of it. When you're flying in like close formation, then you want to like get co-altitude, get to bearing line, and then you kind of drive in. You kind of just tip it in and then level out. Give yourself that little scooch, and scooch in there, get close. And then when you're making turns, especially when you're in close, it works better if you like just drop with the other jet. Just kind of keep it where you like if you're turning into the wing, you're gonna take a little bit of power out and then just drop down so that you're following that wing. And it's almost like your sight picture never really changes. It's just like you're just dipping down with that wing. So you're staring at the same sight picture that you were before, but you're below where you were in a turn, and you can just kind of give a little bit more pull or add a little bit of power depending on what required. It's really just like practice is what gets it, and then when you're going outside the wing, so you can do the same thing. You can just kind of rise up with the wing and follow it that way. It's kind of hard for me to like talk and explain, but if like you were flying with me, I could show it or I could draw it. But it's one of those things like just takes a little bit of practice. But as you do those little techniques, you'll figure it out. Like especially when you're outside, you have to add a little bit of power because you're going further than the guy inside of you. So it's just like a little bits of power and a little bit more pull or a little thing. And also like if you're trying to stay with somebody, turning a little bit harder as well and adding some power will get you around the corner a little bit faster if you let your nose drop. So you can just kind of you can like drive in there and get around there and not have to use a lot of power. It's just little tiny baby movements. I'm just kind of talking, and it doesn't seem like I'm making sense to myself. So hopefully some of it's seeping in.
The inside dip versus the outside pull up is huge, because like I've got the co-altitude thing and the bearing line thing, not with those terms. It's the first I've heard those terms, but the thing that always got me was when my lead turns, then I turn, and all of a sudden I can't see his jet anymore, so I don't know where to put the jet.
Yeah, just follow his wing. Just like if he's turning into you, drop. You just drop down and stay there, so that you're just still looking at the same sight picture with his wing there, but you're below his plane, and you're gonna be basically on still in the same plane as he is, because your wings are still lined up. You're just dropping there. You can still see him just fine, because the wingman, or the lead, doesn't really care where the heck you are, as long as when he just glances over, you're in the right position. He's not looking at you. He's navigating. He's flying. You are focused on him. It's like 90% watching that jet and 10% looking at your instruments. because you really don't have to worry about anything. Like I can sit and like turn off all my instruments as long as I'm in close formation, and I can stay with my lead because all I have to do is just pay attention to what his jet is doing. If his jet slows down, I need to reduce my power. If his jet speeds up, I need to add power. If he turns, just wait. As long as he's not making like super aggressive maneuvers, I just have to kind of let it follow the jet, and I never have to worry about a thing because it's just paying attention to that sight picture.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
And then just practice. You practice it and you get it in, and you kind of get those thoughts in there. You get used to it, and you're like, okay, cool.
My biggest takeaway from that, which you helped me with a lot there, is just when he turns into you, when your leader turns into you, to stay below him. That's where I lose sight all the time. Is I get up high on the inside wing, and then he disappears under my fuselage.
Well, you don't want to go like too far, like just like dive down below him.
But I get what you're saying.
You're following his wing.
Right. So when the left wing comes down, you go down with it. When the left wing comes up, you go up with it.
Because you're looking, because that sight picture is the tip of that missile rail, and like either like right beneath his head or in the ECS duct. I usually use like the ECS duct or the intake is what I usually use for my sight picture. And you just want to keep those things kind of in the same spot. And then you can also look at the tail, the exhaust, and make sure that's kind of like, it'll look kind of like a pair of lips. It'll be like nice when you're in like the right position, when you're in close enough. In that right position, it'll look kind of like a tiny little set of lips. And then you want to see equal parts of the top and bottom of the wing. And that lets you know, because you're actually just a little bit below his jet, because you're looking at his wing level and he's a little bit above you, because his head's above you where you're flying. But you're just kind of cruising there. You want to look at equal parts of the top and bottom of the wing and line up that 45. If you don't even really look at the exhaust pipe until you can really kind of focus on that 45 and that co-altitude. Because as long as you just keep your head following the wing and you can constantly see equal sides of the top and bottom of the wing, you're going to be flying along in the right position, no matter what. As long as you've got that sight picture there.
Well, it's cool that you just came in here and told us a bunch of this shit. Because, I mean, a lot of it you just said, I mean, I've never heard anybody say it before. So I do know a little bit about, keeping the sight picture on a certain particular part of the plane. But you kind of gave me a reference point, kind of like when I learned to drive and they told me to keep the hood ornament on the white line,
Yeah.
So that kind of, sometimes when you speak in a certain way, it kind of creates a little analogy or something in your head, and you kind of see it in a different light. You just can't get that out of a book sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard to like really, unless you go out and do it and you see a picture of it, you're like, oh, that's what I'm doing.
Well, guys, good flights. I had a lot of fun. It was really great, and hope to do it again soon.
I'm guessing you shut down the server because I was trying to get the ACMI.
Oh, I got the ACMI. No, I was still in.
Okay, cool. Because it's still going then.
Oh, it's still going.
Yeah, I'm still waiting. I started from fence in.
Okay. I did accidentally just back out of the campaign, but the server's still
Ooh,
on.
okay. Then I probably have to shut down my thing.
I do have it. I didn't get it from fence in. Give me a second. Let me pull it up here.
My